Hello everyone. Welcome to this new session. Myself, moridhawal, Assistant Professor at Government Pharmacy College, Rajkot. The topic of our discussion today is also new, that is Constitution of India. But before we can embark on our new journey, let me clarify few things so that we can put everything in right perspective. So the first thing is that Indian Constitution is like a ocean. That means it's a very huge document. It contains lots of information. So it's not possible to complete the entire Indian Constitution or the discussion regarding Constitution of India in a one or in a few lectures. Second thing that this topic, Constitution of India, has a broad applicability. That means no matter what kind of the examination that you are preparing for, government examination, be it UPSC, GPSC or any examination, you will find questions from Indian Constitution. So its applicability is not only restricted to the examination for which this entire session or the lecture series has been dedicated, that is the drug inspector. But apart from that, if you are preparing for any other government post, you will find question from Indian Constitution. Second thing let me clarify that when I am explaining the things or I am discussing the things, I am taking for a granted that listener of these sessions are completely beginners. They know nothing about the Indian Constitution. This is the first step to know the Indian Constitution. So my discussion and the explanation that I am going to give, it is to keep in mind that all the listeners are basically beginners. They are not an expert. Now, if you are preparing for any other government examination and if you are if you are going in any other classes where they explain all these things, then I consider all of you as an expert. So if you have already started the preparation regarding the Indian Constitution, and if you have studied in one or other way, you might think that the explanation that I am giving, it's very basic level, but that is what the intention I am having. I am keeping this my explanation as simple as possible so that new beginners who are knowing nothing about the Indian Constitution, they can understand. Second thing, let me confess, nor I am a lawyer, nor I am a constitutional expert. Now let me elaborate this one. Whatever information that I am giving in this lecture, factually they are correct. I have taken all this information from the very authentic source. Even though if you find that factually it is incorrect, you are free to comment and suggest me. So I will correct it. But what my point is that Indian Constitution is a live document, right? As the respected Supreme Court of India has also explained that the Constitution is always, the interpretation of the Constitution can vary. So whatever explanation I am giving regarding the Indian Constitution, that might vary, because depending on which expert you are hearing, they might have a different interpretation of the various sections. That is possible. That is what the respected Supreme Court has also said it, that the Indian Constitution is a live document and it is always liable for the different interpretation. So it can be possible that interpretation is differ, but whenever it comes to factual data, all the factual data I have checked it and then I have only kept in this PPT. Second thing, that the discussion, the language of our discussion and the PPT is going to remain in English. Now why I have to clarify, not to show that how good we are at English, but because if you see the questions in the DI examination, the questions which are asked from the Constitution, they are asked in a Gujarati. So the question are in Gujarati, but whatever sources that I have used to prepare this PPT and to understand the Indian Constitution, these all come from the English one. So it is very difficult for me to convert all this knowledge from Gujarati to English to Gujarati and then explain. If I try to do that, then I am going to miss my link. I am going to miss my flow in which I am explaining the things. So the language of our discussion is only going to remain in English. You have to convert in a Gujarati on your own. That's why I am trying to explain in as simple as possible. So once after this clarification, let us start to the actual topic. So basically, what is Constitution of India? If you see broadly, it's basically a book, right? Constitution of India is a book. which has laid down the principle of how this country should be run. So before we start, what is given in the book actually? Let us go through a little bit of history of the Indian Constitution, because in many competitive examination you find questions from the history also. So when it comes to inception of the idea that who thought that India should have of its own constitution. So uh, the person who suggested, or the credit should goes to leftist leader called M.N. Roy. He was the first person who put forward the idea for the first time that let India should have its own constitution, and that is why he is also known as the inspirer of the Indian constitution, Dr. M.N. Roy. Now, once this idea was circulated, then in 1946, cabinet mission from UK, they constituted something called Constitution Assembly. Basically, what is assembly? Assembly is a group of people. So, under the cabinet mission, British government has constituted a assembly, and it was named Constitution Assembly. And this assembly was given task to draft the constitution for India. So, Constitution Assembly was constituted under the cabinet mission plan in 1946, and it was given task to frame the constitution. Now, initially, when the Constitution Assembly was assembled, temporarily the Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, because he was the eldest among all the members, he was elected as a president. But once the assembly started to function, it has its own election, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was a very erudite person, a very distinguished figure, a very bright person, and obviously, all you know, he was the first president of India also. He was elected as a first president of the assembly. So Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was not elected. He was the president, but for temporary time. But once the assembly started to function, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, right, he was elected as a president of that assembly. Now, once this assembly assembled, they started to function, debate, discussion, and when they framed the constitution, that constitution was ready and it was adopted by 26 November 1949. So it was the day when it was adopted. Then the question is that why our independent Republic Day is 26th of January. The reason is that even though it was ready, the constitution was ready, it was adopted on 26 November, it was enforced in India on 26 January 1950. The reason was that 26 January was the same day in 1930 when Indian National Congress, at that time the prime independent agency which was fighting for Indian independence, in the Lahore session, they have passed the resolution of complete independence, that is called Purna Swaraj. So on 26 January 1930, in a Lahore session, Indian National Congress, they have passed the concept or resolution of complete independence from the British dominance, and that is why to commemorate at that day, the Indian Constitution was enforced in India on 26th of January 1950, and that is why it is our Republic Day. So, as you know, the Constitution is a basically book, and as we know that all the books has a certain all the book has been categorized in a certain way. If we take any regular book, we know it is having the index. Index has been categorized in a different various way. So same way, Indian Constitution is also the book, and this book is also been very well classified. So if we see the various part of the Constitution, if we go from largest part to smallest part, it is start from the broadest classification of the Constitution is the part. Now these part are composed of lots of chapter, and these chapter are containing articles. So you can see article is the smallest section of the Constitution. Article is the smallest section of the Constitution. Various articles, they come together, they forms a chapter, and chapter basically forms the part. So I will give you example. I will show the example in a subsequent slide so you can see. And there is also something called schedules in our Constitution. So basically what is schedules? Schedules are auxiliary provision. Basically these schedules contain some list, and because this list cannot contain in single article, they are given as a separate section. So whenever something has to be pointed out, they said that the list given in schedule 1, list given in schedule 2. So schedules are basically auxiliary provision because they cannot accommodate it in a single article. They are given as a separate item. So basically, if you see over here, just give you one example. So if you see the classification or the categorization in the Indian Constitution. So as you see, the part 5, this indicate part. So part 5 of our Indian Constitution, it gives information regarding the union government. What should be the union government, the regarding information or regarding this. So if you see, the part 5 is been categorized into chapters. Chapter 1, executive, chapter 2, parliament, chapter 3, legislative power of the president, 4, 5, like that. And each of this chapter is subcategorized into articles. So if you see these 52 to 78, what is 52 to 78? It's the article. So we know that the part 5, chapter 1, it contains article between 52 to 78, which exclusively deal with the executives. Same way, parliament, the articles start from 79 to 122. So you can see these are the articles, this is chapter, and these are the part. Same way, if you see the schedule, right? So schedule, as I said, it contains list. So basically it's auxiliary information. So you can see what is schedule 1. Schedule 1 contains name of the state and their territorial jurisdictions. Then part 2 contains name of the union territories and their extent. Same way, the second schedule, if you see what basically it contains, provision related to allowance, privileges which is given to President of India, Governor, Speaker, Chairman. So basically the schedules are list of things which can be pointed out from the articles because they cannot accommodate in a single article, and you can see this is related with the lots of articles. So these are given as a separate information. So basically the Indian Constitution, parts, broadest one, chapters, parts are divided into chapters, and chapter contains articles. Now if we see the Indian Constitution overview, in 1949 when it was framed, and if we today we see as of the condition in 2019. So if we see compare this both the constitution, and obviously as you know Indian Constitution is a live document, right? So it is always having it is possible that it can having a lots of modification, addition, deletion that happens in our Indian Constitution since its inception, and that is why it's a live document. It's not a static one which remain unchanged since its inception. No, depending on the situation, depending on the interpretation of the Supreme Court, it has been modified in a various way. So you see that if we compare the Indian Constitution from 1949 to 2019, and if we see how it is compared, so Indian Constitution Preamble. What is preamble? Today we are going to discuss preamble, but what is basically preamble? You can say something like a preface, right? So if you read any novel, initially it starts with the preface. That is means the what we can small summary, or it's a summary of the entire content. It is given into the preface or a preamble. So initial part of our Indian Constitution is known as a preamble. Now what is preamble, how it was framed, what it contains, we will discuss in a subsequent lecture. So our Constitution started the preamble. In 1949 it is also having the preamble, but now this preamble has a modification. Now what are the modifications it is having, we will discuss in today's lecture. So if we see articles, when the Constitution was draft, it was having 395 articles, but today it is around 470. Now this number 470 I have taken from Indian Polity, right? A very authentic book, Lakshmi Khan, from I have taken. Now this number of article can vary. Parliament can add article, it can delete the article. So if you want to have a latest number, you have to check what is the latest number given by the Parliament, because Parliament has the authority to add article, remove article. So whenever in examination these questions are asked that how many numbers of the articles are there, this number can vary, because this part or the change in article is possible by the Parliament. So if Parliament pass some law, it change the article, depending on what is the latest situation, this number can vary. This number is according to 2019. Then division, how many divisions or the parts we have, right? Division means parts. So when it was incepted, it was having 22 parts. Now it is having 25 parts. schedule when the constitution was drafted, it was having 8 schedule, now it is having 12 schedules. So it is just an overview. So today if we see our constitution, it is having more than 470 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. So what is unique thing about the Indian constitution? So as you see our respected leader Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of the drafting committee of the constitution, he said in one of the debate that Indian constitution was framed after ransacking all the constitution of the world. So basically what he tried to say, that when it comes to drafting the Indian constitution, our constitution assembly has gone through the constitution of various countries, and whatever good things or whatever applicable things they thought that Indian constitution should have, they have taken from that part. And that is why you see that Indian constitution is generally considered as inspired from all the good things from the world. These questions are often asked in examination, that which part of our constitution we have taken from which country. So if you see the concept of fundamental rights, what are fundamental rights, how to describe it, we will discuss in a subsequent lecture. So what this purpose of this slide is, that this slide shows that which part of our constitution is inspired from which country. For example, idea of our fundamental rights, independence of judiciary, that means judiciary should not be under the pressure from politician or any other one, completely independent judiciary, then judicial review, then impeachment of the president, that means if in a case the president is required to remove from the office, then the procedure for it, everything is taken from American constitution. I am not saying taken, but Indian Constitution Assembly has studied the American Constitution, and they thought that these provision of American constitutions are applicable to India as well. So the concept of basic right, independence of judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of the president, they are all inspired from the American Constitution. Then same way, there is something called derivative principle of the state policy. These are the policies which are not enforceable. So we will discuss in a detail in our subsequent lecture what is derivative principle of the state policy. Then method for election of the president, they were inspired from the Irish constitution. Obviously from British constitution, because they were ruling India, we have taken concept of cabinet government, what should be the relation between executive and legislative. So basically legislatives are politicians who draft the overall rule, they frame the act, and executives who implement the rule, right? So you can say executives, simple example of the executives are secretary, IAS officer, IPS officer, who are given task to implement the policy which is drafted by the government. So politicians or the government, they draft the policy, and that's why they are known as a legislator. Once these policies are drafted, then these policies are passed to executives who have to implement this policy. And because they implement the policy, they are known as executives. So executives are government officials who are given task to implement the policy drafted by the government. So that idea was taken from British constitution. Then from the Canadian constitution, we have taken the idea of the strong center. What is strong center and state? Basically in India is a federal democracy. What is federal democracy? Where the power has been divided between state and the center. That means that there are certain things which is directly under the control of the state government, and that is why you know that we have the separate election for the state government. Same way, there are certain things which are directly control of the central government. So this division of power between center and state is a very it's a very unique division. It's a very critical division. So the power that state have, center cannot take without a reasonable restriction. And same way, the power that center is having, that are exclusive power of the center, state cannot interfere into it. So this separation of power between state and center, where center retains the high power compared to state, that idea was taken from the Canadian constitution. If you consider the American constitution, in America, the state has a more power compared to center. There in the US, states are more stronger. In India, it's the reverse is the case. center has a more power. Center government, that means central government has a high power compared to state governments. So that idea of having the strong center is taken from the Canadian. Now why this was there, why we required strong center and the why we required strong center and a weak state, that is a discussion of some other session. We will do it if we get a chance, we will do in some other session. But basically the idea of strong center was taken from Canadian Constitution. Then something called concurrent list. Concurrent list means some powers or some areas are there where center can also make a law, state can also make a law. So there are some items on which both have a power, center and a state, and that are known as a concurrent list. So this concurrent list, the idea of concurrent list was taken from Australian Constitution. Then suspension of fundamental right during emergency was taken from German Constitution. So when there is an emergency, this center has a power to suspend the fundamental right. So what is fundamental right? How many are there? Why they can be suspended during suspension? We will discuss in our subsequent lecture. So just be. Then fundamental duties, right? In our old book, when we start, there is always there is fundamental duties, right? In Gujarati, મૂળભૂત ફરજો. So these fundamental duties, the idea of fundamental duties was basically taken from Soviet Constitution. Soviet means Russian, right? At that time USSR. So it is taken from Soviet Constitution. Then the basic idea of any constitution, that is liberty, equality and fraternity. Obviously, if you remember French Constitution or the French Revolution, the main idea of the French Revolution was liberty, equality and fraternity. So that idea was taken from the French Constitution. Liberal, everyone is having liberty, equal, all are equal, and fraternity. So this idea which is added into preamble. What is preamble? We will see in today's lecture. So that idea is basically taken from the French Constitution. And the procedure, how we can amend the Constitution, right? As I said, Constitution is a live document, right? Which is always there to change. Always there to change means that whenever Parliament wants to amend something, change something, remove something, Parliament has an authority to change. So whenever it comes to changing anything in the Constitution, the Parliament required to follow a procedure. So which procedure to follow, how to do it, that entire procedure is taken from South African Constitution. So as you see that Indian Constitution has been drafted very carefully, right? Whatever was applicable to India, whatever best practices there in the constitution of other countries, they were studied, they were debated, and then they were added into Indian Constitution. And that is why Indian Constitution is also known as an amalgamation of the entire world constitution. So our framing fathers, they studied the Constitution, they were lawyers mostly. You see Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, they were basically lawyers. So they have studied all this Constitution, and whatever the best practices they thought that which are applicable in India, they were given. So these questions are also very often asked in examination, that which part of the Constitution is inspired from which Constitution. For example, fundamental right, American Constitution, derivative principle of the state policy, Irish Constitution. So these questions are also very important. So here I have given the list, the major part of the Constitution, and it is inspired from the which country. Now let us get to first part of our Constitution. So our Constitution start with preamble. So what is preamble? As I said, it's a preface. Basically, it is an introductory part of our Constitution which summarizes the essence, which summarizes the central idea of the Constitution. So preamble of the Constitution is basically a summary of entire Constitution. Now this preamble was drafted by our first Prime Minister, respected Jawaharlal Nehru, and in one of the Supreme Court ruling, that is the Keswanand Bharti versus the state of Kerala. So Keswanand Bharti versus state of Kerala is a very famous case in Indian Constitution. As subsequently we will discuss about this Keswanand Bharti versus the state of Kerala case. It is one of the very breakthrough case in Indian Constitution, and during that ruling, Supreme Court of India, the respected Supreme Court of India, has also said that preamble is an integral part of the Constitution. So preamble is not a separate one, it's the integral part of the Constitution. which is drafted by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and basically it explains the central idea of the constitution. So let us see what is preamble of our constitution, how it looks. So basically this is our preamble of constitution. Let us see what it says. Basically what it says: we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into. So it starts with we people of India. What it means is that we people of India are giving constitution to ourselves. This constitution is not taken from anywhere else. It's not taken by, it's not forced on us by any other country. We people of India are adopting this constitution, and we are making sure that India is going to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So let us understand let us understand the meaning of each and every term. What is sovereign? Sovereign is the country on its own. Our country is not taking guidance from any other country, right? We were under the British rule for a long time. So during that time, if we want to decide our foreign policy, monetary policy, we need to take guidance from the British government. But now it's not the case. We are the sovereign country. Sovereign means free from external influence. So we are the sovereign country. Now let us skip these two words, socialist and secular, because I have highlighted is a red word. That means why this red word which I have highlighted, basically socialist, secular, and here you can see integrity. These words were not basically in the original constitution. When the preamble was drafted, these words were not there. Secular, socialist, secular, and integrity. So these three words has been added in our constitution after 1976. If you read the original constitution and original preamble, it was containing word like sovereign, democratic, and republic. What is democratic? We know. What is democracy? Where government is elected by voting. People has a power to decide who rules the country. And republic means the people of India, or the citizen of India, not people of India, but the citizen of India has a final say. So the government is elected democratically. That means each and everyone has a right. All the Indian citizen has a right to vote, and it is the ultimate people of India who decide who rules. We are not monarch, right? For example, in a British, they are having the king and the queen system. That is not in India. In India, the ultimate authority is the public, citizen of India, and that is why we are republic. The republic which elect the government democratically, where each and everyone has a right to vote under the no influence of external forces. So we are sovereign, democratic, republic. And what it says, what preamble says, that we ensure that all the citizen, that means all the citizen of India has a justice. Which justice we are talking about? Social justice, economical justice, and political justice. So three justice is aspired for. Social justice for everyone, no economic justice, all are getting equal economic opportunity, and political opportunity. So all citizens of India should have a equal social opportunity, economic opportunity, and the political opportunity. And second is that, first thing about justice. Second is that about liberty. What are the liberties that we are having? Liberties of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. So all the citizen of India has a liberty when it comes to thought, thinking, expression, how you want to express yourself, verbally, writing, expression of freedom of expression. Belief, you believe in a God, you believe in one religion, you believe in other religion, you don't believe in any religion, right? You can be atheist. So believe in religion, faith, worship, there is a liberty. So Indian citizens are free to have thinking, expression, belief, faith, worship. So there are 5 liberties we are aspiring for. And equity. So justice, liberty, equity. Equity of status and opportunity, promote among all. So we require, so the constitution, Indian constitution is aiming to generate equity of status among all the citizens. So basically what Indian constitution is aspiring for? Justice for all, liberty for all, and equity for all, and fraternity. So if you see the French Revolution, right, the basic three idea of the French Revolution, liberty, equity and fraternity, are clearly expressed in our preamble as well. So that is why I said that Indian Constitution was drafted by taking the best ideas from the world, around the world. So it's a liberty, equity and fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual, unity and integrity of the nation. And this Constitution Assembly, on, as I said, the day it was adopted was 26th of November 1949. Hereby we adopt, enact and give ourselves. So remember this word, the Indian Constitution is given to ourselves. Citizen of India has drafted it and citizen of India has given this constitution to on its own. We are not taking this constitution from anywhere else. We have drafted it and we have taken on our own. And that is why you see that comes the sovereign nation. So this was the original constitution, but in 1976 during emergency, Indira Gandhi was the prime minister and he added 3 new terms in our Indian constitution. So these 3 words were socialist, secular and integrity of the nation. So secular, we know what is secular basically. So secular basically where the state has no religion, or in other words that state don't make differences based on the religion. You can take up any religion in India, Hindu, Muslim, anyone. The state will not discriminate on the basis of the religion. So basically secular. What is socialist? So socialist is a little bit, it is in a Gujarati it is called Samajwad, right? So what is socialist basically? Where state is having welfare schemes. So basically socialist means the primary idea of the state is to have a welfare of the people. They want good for the people. The schemes which can serve the people. That is what socialist society is about, right? So socialist, it's in a detail. There are that can be socialist, communist and there can be capitalist. So 3 generally terms which used to describe the country: socialist, communist and the socialist, communist and the capitalist. So India basically it aimed to be a socialist country. That was added into the right. Now you can say that why these words are required to added after the constitution, or after, you can see, almost 25 years of the constitution. So there is a separate debate for it, that why this word is not added into at that time in our constitution. So the preamble of the constitution is amended once in 1976, and 42nd amendment of the Indian constitution, they added 3 words into the constitution, that is socialist, secular and integrity of the nation. So these 3 words are basically added after the constitution has been framed. Okay, so basically you see what are the 4 ingredients of the preamble. First thing is that source of authority, where is our constitution is taking. So from where our constitution assembly is taking authority, who give them power to draft the constitution. So basically this power comes from nowhere else, it comes from the people of India. And that is why you see the first word, we people of India. We people of India are giving this constitution to ourselves. We are not taking from anywhere. It is the people of India who is drafting and gives this constitution to them. Second thing, what is it also defines the nature of our state, how India as a country should be. So it required to be democratic, it required to be republic, it required to be secular and socialist, right? Secular and socialist, it was not originally envisaged by our fathers of our constitution, it was added afterwards. Then it is having 4 objectives. What are the 4 main objectives of the constitution? Is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. When it comes to justice, we have the 3 justice: social, economical, political. When it comes to liberty, 5 types of the liberty we are aspiring for: thoughts, expression, belief, faith and worship. Equity for status, opportunity and to promote among them. So basically the objective of the constitution is to make sure that all the citizens of India have a justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. and when it was adopted, 26 November 1940. So you see, the main essence of the preamble is to make sure that where the authority comes from. Second thing, what kind of the nation it want India to be. So what kind of the principle that we require to have in our constitution. So ultimately India can be a democratic, republic, secular, socialist country. And what is the aim? After becoming this country, what we aspire for our people, citizen. So we require justice, liberty, equality and fraternity, and when it was adopted. So you see the questions which are asked from the examination, you see over here, these questions are in Gujarati. So ભારતના બંધારણના આમુખમાં, આમુખ is a preamble, ભારતના નાગરિકોને નીચે પૈકી કયા પ્રકારની સ્વતંત્રતા પૂરી પાડવામાં આવી છે. So you can do in English. Basically what it says is that we know that what kind of the independence that we required. So you can see over here what kind of the liberty we had: thought, expression, belief, faith and a worship. So you can see over here that thoughts, yes, then religion, yes, we have, expression we have, and worship we have. So you can see 1, 2, 3 and 4, this is the answer. Then when was the constitution was adopted? So obviously remember, it's the 26th January it was adopted. When it was enforced, it was 26th January. So it was adopted 26th November, it was enforced on 26th January. So when it comes to framing of the constitution or adopt of the constitution, it is 26th November. Then the other question, you can see the amuk e બંધારણનો ભાગ છે. That means basically preamble is a part of the constitution. As I said, it was stated by respected Supreme Court in a Keswanand Bharti case. Keswanand Bharti case is a very interesting case. If you have a time, go through internet. It's one of the breakthrough case in Indian judiciary, but we will discuss if we have a time in subsequent lecture. And second thing, that question was that ભારતના બંધારણના આમુખમાં ભારતને સાર્વભૌમ, સોવેરેન, સમાજવાદી, સોશિયલિસ્ટ, બિનસાંપ્રદાયિક means secular, yes, yeah, and લોકશાહી, that means democratic બનાવવા માટેનો સંકલ્પ છે. So obviously both are true. So we are sovereign, socialist, democratic, republic. And obviously, as I said, that Supreme Court has said that the preamble is a part of Indian constitution. So both are there. And then which part is known as a soul of our constitution? So basically preamble, our preamble is known as a soul of our constitution. So that is also the case. So these questions were already asked in the examination for the DI. But apart from that, if you go for any paper, right, with any paper of any GPSC, UPSC, you will find question from Indian constitution, right? So thank you everyone for the patient listening. So what I want to say is that as you know that this part that we have discussed, Indian constitution, is not what we can say is a specialized domain from our side. So one of the discussion that we have is that whether we require to really make lectures on this specialized topic. Obviously in pharmacy we can make it, but when it comes to this kind of the topics like economy, constitution, environment, so you see in all the examination, competitive examination, you find lots of questions from these areas. So this was the first attempt to make a special session on this offbeat topic. So please share in our comments, in your comments when you watch this video, whether we require to really make this kind of videos, or whether you can learn all these topics, constitution, economy, environment, from somewhere else. If there are other better sources available, then we don't require to waste our efforts in this specialized topic. We will keep our focus on pharmacy part only. But if you feel that you required more videos on these offbeat topics like constitution, economy, then environment, then GK, then please share it in a comment, write it in a comment. If the audience wants that kind of video, then we will keep making this kind of videos. So please you can give a feedback on an email, and also you can write in a comment section on a YouTube. Whenever you go through this video, please write whether you want these kind of videos or whether we should exclusively focus on a pharmacy part only. So thank you everyone for the patient listening. That's it from my side.